Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Show is beautiful. Even when characters are just talking or existing in this universe, it is so nice to look at. It has a very unique art style, and when reading and tiresome, you just want a break from him being that embodiment of the trait. It's very rare where he is a badass and there's what kind of bird that is. Oh, look at that tree. There's a tree over there. And it's just every single time these characters are on screen, they are committing 100%. So plugging Demon Slayer into the moist meter, I'm giving it a fat 90%. It has a lot. It is really, really nice, really great, and I really hope UFO Table comes back for a season 2 of Demon Slayer and doesn't pass it off to some trash studio like fucking JC staff who's just gonna
Moisture.
Dr. Stone I find to be an incredibly unique anime and just general show with an idea and premise I've never seen explored successfully in any medium. I fucking love Dr. Stone. The show is about an anomaly that occurs in the modern age that petrifies all of humanity, turning them to stone for thousands of years, 3,700 years. After 3,700 years, the protagonist named Senku wakes up, and Senku is like Google waking up. He has the accumulation of 2 million years worth of humanity's knowledge at his disposal. He's the preeminent prodigy of science. He knows everything there is to know about building shit and making shit. And what he wants to do is bring humanity back and back into the modern age, starting from literally nothing. Bare ass, naked, full asshole out, wants to bring humanity from that point all the way to the point where we've got television, porn, all of that again. It is an incredible show. It's like watching primitive technology, but across an entire show. In the beginning, he makes clothes out of leaves. He uses hammers and chisels made out of stones, where he's banging stones against other stones. He's using some of the same tools you see primitive technology using, where he's, twirling fucking twigs into the strings that he needs. It's really impressive, and all of what they show is accurate in terms of the science and the tools that they use and how they get to the point, the chemicals, the reactions. All of it is accurate. I knew some of it, I didn't know most of it, and I fact-checked that shit. I fact-checked that bitch constantly, just to see if I could point a finger and say, nope, you're wrong, you lied to me, this is wrong. And at no point did I ever come across that case. All of the science they show here and everything they make, they tell you how they do it, and it is all exactly how it is done, which I find to be impressive. When I first went into this show, knowing the premise, I thought I was going to be making a whole bunch of leaps and shit using magic, out of nowhere. One episode, Senku's got his cock and balls out because he's butt-ass naked after being unpetrified, and then the next episode he's got fucking Home Depot tools at his disposal, and he's using a power drill to set up the first RGB gaming keyboard. I didn't know it'd be step-by-step from ground zero, making the tools, then making the shit with the tools and building upon that foundation. And every step of the way, it was fascinating. It was genuinely educational in a very fun way. And as the show progresses, there's more and more characters that get introduced, and obviously none of them are up to Senku's level of understanding science. Some of them don't even believe science is a real thing because they're in this primitive world where there is no science, there is no technology, and Senku's the only one that can bring it back. So he's constantly explaining how the things work to the characters in the show, which in turn explains it to the viewer, which is really fucking cool. Teaching you how to make goddamn fucking, I don't want to spoil anything, but making some really impressive shit, teaching you how electricity and shit works. Like, it's really crazy. And over the course of the 24 episodes in the season, he goes from nothing to having some pretty impressive stuff at his disposal, and it doesn't feel at any step that it was a huge jump where all of a sudden he has nothing and now he has, as telescopes and space shuttles. They have everything in between that builds up to that point, showing you every step and teaching you every step how they got there, which I find great. It's never slow, it never drags, there's constant inventions, constant shit going on. I think the villain is also really well realized. I think it's a really cool villain. There's really nothing I didn't enjoy about this show. I can see why some people wouldn't like it and maybe find it boring, because it really is a show that is mainly about building characters and building shit, inventing things, and some people may not care about that. It's not like other animes in its category where you've got constant sword battles, you got ass cheeks going against assholes in these constant fights, and there's a lot of action. That isn't here in Dr. Stone. There is action and there is scenes of fighting, but it's very scarce. It is mainly about these characters interacting with science, discovering things, and building things, all of which I think work really well in the context of the show and make it really thrilling and fun, and at times just downright gorgeous. If I had to nitpick one complaint though, I felt towards the end of the season, things got a little bit too fast paced, if that makes any sense. What I mean by that is they'd spend 5 episodes collecting one mineral or one chemical that they need for an invention. But then towards the end of the season, if they needed to invent something they didn't have it, it only took them an hour or one scene to get it immediately and bring it back, and then they made the invention. Whereas that same task took them 5 episodes previously. So it just feels like at some point they just disregarded a lot of the grunt work that they were showing and a lot of the explanation that they were giving. Kind of like what Game of Thrones did with travel, where it took an entire fucking season for an army to march, and then in season 7 or 8 they could get there in literally 2 scenes. And I get why they kind of gloss over those scenes of them gathering what they need and explaining exactly how everything works. They focus more their explanations on the things that are extremely important in the show, and towards the end they just kind of gloss over a lot of the stuff. And I don't mind it that much because it would be kind of boring just to watch them go do more gathering that you've already seen, and then another explanation for something that you probably didn't really need to know because it's not going to be the most important component in the show or anything. So I get glossing over it for time. It's not that big of a deal, but it is something that does break the show's established rules of it's a lot of work to get these things, and here's how it all works. At some point you have to accept it's not a whole lot of work at a certain point, and they don't need to explain everything. And that's fine by me. Plugging Dr. Stone into the moist meter, I'm giving it a nice fat old 90%. This is probably my favorite anime of the year, but I imagine it'll be kind of divisive for people who either aren't into anime or only into a certain kind of anime, because it is very different. It is an extremely unique show. Some of the characters aren't overly unique in the genre, but overall the show itself has its own very niche identity. And I think it's great. I really, really enjoyed it from start to finish, and I can't recommend the show enough. Really fucking good stuff.
Initiating moisture.
I know I'm a little late to the Mob Psycho circle jerk, but better late than never. I loved One Punch Man, and season 2 of One Punch Man just started, episode 1 just came out, and it sucked some serious dog anus in my opinion. I thought the animation looked like trash. Genos is truly ruined. The fight, I'm not going to get into it. Everything about season 2 episode 1 I didn't really like, except for some of the humor, and King is a good character. I'm not here to moist meter that. I'm here to look at Mob Psycho. I figured I'd go ahead and cleanse my palate by watching the second season of Mob Psycho 100, and it did more than cleanse my palate. It gave me a full-blown erection. Mob Psycho is a visual eye orgasm. That show is absolutely beautiful, and one thing that it does well that I think a lot of other anime don't is it does humor super well. It's from the same creator of One Punch Man, and One Punch Man does humor well, so this guy's just got it down. The reason I think it works very similar to Saitama and One Punch Man, but whereas Saitama is just an example of the end-all, be-all of what the best possible godlike power could ever look like, Mob is a much more relatable character that a lot of people will feel connected with in certain ways across his journey. Season 1 serves to show you just how fucking strong Mob is, and it does it beautifully. Watching a fight scene in this show is an absolute joy. It's as if the 1980s aesthetic, but fucked a rainbow, and then you could really, like Skittles, fucking taste it. You could see it. It was an absolutely beautiful eruption of colors anytime a fight happened. From the very first episode, they really show you just what kind of... To me, the show's at its best when it's mixing comedy and nut-busting, gorgeous action. For instance, anytime Reagan enters a fight, he has like a brand new special move that is so beautifully animated and entertaining to look at, like the fucking salt punch on a spirit, and it has like a slow, fade to like this attack screen that illustrates what the move is, how he came up with it, why he uses it, like a fucking WWE wrestler card. It's really cool. I love that shit. And when Reagan fights in the final episode of season 1, everything there, I think, is when Mob Psycho is really doing its best work and when it's the most interesting. But I'm not trying to shit on season 2 for going with a more humanizing route and slowing down the pacing, because it is a show where you really care for the characters and you like to see them grow. And it does have a nice, final battle segment. And they're in the middle. There's a fight with another character named Mogami, which is really beautiful as well. So really, the show never loses its charm. There are some episodes that I feel are kind of weak. For example, when Reagan's getting exposed as a scam artist and shit. I didn't think all of that was really very interesting. But it always led up to a heartwarming moment or a fun payoff with a fight or something like that. Really, I don't have too many complaints about the show. So let's just go ahead and plug this shit into the Moist Meter. I'm giving Mob Psycho 100 a 90%. I do think if you like anime, it's a show you should watch. If you like anime, you've probably already seen it anyway. I'm fucking late to this one. I came in here limp-dickedly. But anyway, it's something I'd recommend. The shit's great. And you should definitely watch One Punch Man Season 1 as well. It's from the same creator of this show, but I'm sure most of you knew that as well. You fucking anime fans are damn near omniscient. But anyway, that's it. So yeah.
Initiating moisture.
What the fuck's poppin'? How's that ass smellin'? Welcome to the Boku no Moist Meter. Today we're looking at the very popular anime series My Hero Academia, or Boku no Hero Academia as it's known in Japanese, which directly translates to My Penis Only Gets Hard for Anime Titties. Now, Boku no Hero Academia just finished its 3rd season, so I figured I'd do a Moist Meter for the show thus far. Full disclosure, I haven't read the manga. I don't really read manga anymore. When I was younger, I was a bit of a manga maniac, but not anymore. As I began to grow older and evolve into this mountain of masculinity you see before you today, I started sprouting more hair on my chest and my nipples, and I discovered I much prefer seeing the content come to life in animation as opposed to just a flat page. Now, My Hero Academia is a great fucking show. It's a show about Deku, who is a quirkless hero in a world where quirks mean everything. Everyone has one. It's very rare that you don't have one. Quirks are superpowers, basically. The whole world has superpowers to different degrees, and the whole society is built around the idea of being protected by heroes, one in particular, All Might. And the show is about All Might losing his powers but passing it down to Deku, and Deku rising up to become the world's best hero and save the world from evil and villains and shit like that. It's not a unique concept or anything like that. It's not like fucking Isaac Newton was revived from the dead, and instead of proposing gravity, he instead proposed the My Hero Academia anime plot. It's not deep, but it's fucking fun, and it's a lot of fun to watch unfold with really interesting characters that are well designed with some really imaginative superpowers, quirks. And it leads to a lot of fun fights between hero versus hero, hero versus villain. It's always a joy when the show gives you a fun fight to watch, because the animation is second to none and the fights are fucking great. And each fight is always accompanied by an even greater soundtrack. This show has some fucking bangers. I love listening to the soundtrack of the show even when not watching it, which I don't do for many things. It just really makes you feel empowered, like you want to fucking punch your ass through a wall or something. Like you want to take your fist and just jam it through 15 inches of pure adamantium vibranium concrete. It just makes you feel strong as fuck, like a hero like them. And that's when the show's at its best, when they have this climactic fight, All Might versus a super big tough villain, or a hero, Deku, versus Kachan or something. Just a fun fight to watch unfold. That's when the show is at its best. But there's a lot of points in the show where it really hangs, and it's a very clear filler. I'm all for character building. I love that character building, feel good shit to put some butterflies in your butthole. I'm all for that. But this show really sometimes misses the mark in that department. There's no better example than Season 3. The second half of Season 3 is downright just awful, almost insufferable to me. First half I thought was great, but the second half, right when they start doing the provisional licensing shit, I just lost so much interest in even bothering finishing the season. Obviously I did because I love the show as a whole, and I know it gets better, but it was just so boring. The provisional licensing thing was, the heroes, the main cast of characters, they have to go through this test to get a license to be able to use their powers like the professional heroes do. That's very low stakes, and the tests weren't fun to watch. It was, you have to talk to some, survivors of a tragedy. Okay, that's cool. Okay, you talk to them. Great. You kind of fight some people. Not really. Okay, that's not really fun to watch. That was the whole thing. It's just this low stakes, no fun shit. It didn't really build characters. I guess kind of did here and there, but it just wasn't enjoyable. It was really boring and just so trivial. It just seemed like very clear filler, and it seemed absolutely unnecessary. Like, fuck the provisional license. Just skip that whole thing. I like how they introduced new characters from other schools instead of just having the primary school UA steal the spotlight. They had other schools come in. You saw some really cool quirks from them, but I'm sure they could have found a better way of doing that instead of like a dodgeball match, a fucking tag match. That's just so fucking boring. And there's other points like that in the series, but season 3, that arc dragged on way too long, much longer than it should have. If it was like 2 or 3 episodes where they built all that up, that'd be totally fine. I'd be on board with that and I would have probably enjoyed it. But when they stretch it out like that, they make it like a fucking Dragon Ball Z fight where you're powering up, where you're just dodging dodgeballs for 2 episodes, it's boring. No one wants to watch that. Another thing I think this show really misses on sometimes is inspiration. And what I mean by that is there's at least 10 times per season, 10 to 15 times per season where Deku, he starts crying, he starts feeling down, but then one word changes his perspective. He gets inspired. And then the music picks up in this crescendo like, yes, I am inspired now because you told me about it. Yes, I am strong. And then he does that 10, 15 times. The exact same inner monologue, the exact same fucking trigger word every time. Like, how many times do you get inspired, motherfucker? Are you kidding me? Like, every time someone farts, this man finds new inspiration. Like, it's way too often, it's not always Deku, but it's way too often someone gets inspired by one single word, and it goes through the same monologue and the same exact scenario and the same, feel good, I'm strong, I'm unique, I'm special type deal. You can't, it really blows its load way too many times with that angle. That's like some traditional generic anime cliche thing, I understand, but it's overdone. It's at least 10 to 15 times per season, and it's just way too much. And each time it happens, you kind of laugh and smile because it's cute, but fuck, does it get old. It really overstays its welcome. The show, though, as a whole, I think is great. I love the villains. I think the villains in the show are so fucking strong. Right now, you don't know a whole lot about them in the show, so they're a bit two-dimensional, but they're so fucking cool. And one of the main villains, Stain, I thought was just a really strong character overall. It's a villain that you can almost root for and side with. You might not approve of his methods, but you understand his message. And it's just, everything about the villain side of the show is great. Heroes as well. It's just, there's no characters in the show that I think are super fucking weak or awful or anything. And there's not a whole lot of moments in the show where I think the action misses its mark or the story misses its mark. It's just specific episodes or themes I think fall short. So let's just go ahead and plug this shit into the Moist Meter. I'm giving My Hero Academia an 85%. I think this is an anime that you absolutely should watch. It lives up to the hype. I think it is a very enjoyable one. It's just a fucking blast to watch all around, in my opinion. So yeah, that's it. See ya.
Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Moist Meter. It's me, the avatar of Greece, the unshowered specimen of pure filth. Over 24 hours without a shower, feeling real stinky, delivering another anime Moist Meter, this time for Attack on Titan. Season 3 just ended, so I figured I'd do a Moist Meter for the whole show. I think Attack on Titan is a must-see anime, even if you don't like anime, or even cartoons. I remember when the first season came out back in college, my roommates, who never watched anime, they were way too cool, I like football, I prefer the pigskin, not these fucking titties, cartoon 2D stuff. Then I'd come into the room and they're fucking watching Attack on Titan, embarrassed about it. Oh, bro, I was just flipping through the anime.com, you fucking weirdos making fun of them. But what I'm saying is, it was a show that captured the audience that isn't just anime lovers. It was a season that was so good that the general populace really got drawn in. For a good reason, because it's almost a masterpiece. There's a lot of low points in season 1, in my opinion, but it's super fucking good. The animation in Attack on Titan seasons 1, 2, and 3 is a fucking stellar. Outstanding. The action scenes are the most stylish and beautiful in all of the currently airing anime. The animation is just leagues above others, and that's my biggest compliment to the show. It's so fucking great when you get this high octane, fucking Spider-Manning around these naked giants and then slashing their necks. It's so fucking fun to watch. And on top of that, the show has a fucking interesting story to tell, a really interesting story to tell. It doesn't always tell it very well, but the story is good enough, and they do a good enough job to keep me fucking scratching at my neck like a meth addict going through withdrawals, waiting for more answers to the questions it proposes. You always want to learn more about the universe in Attack on Titan and about the characters. I don't think all the characters are that great. I even think the main character, Eren Yeager, is a bit underwhelming. He does a lot of sulking and, self-pity. Oh, fuck, my dick's so small, I have to keep the lights off because girls will laugh at it. I'm just not good enough. Why was I chosen? I'm not worthy. And then I'll have like a eureka moment and get inspired. It's 3.5 inches of steel and bravery. It's enough penis for any girl. I am the one. I can do this. And then he goes and does his job. There's a lot of that, and I don't care for that much. So I think he's not a super great character overall. But there are a lot of good characters in here. I think Captain Levi, for example, is a fucking great character. Well-rounded, super fun to watch. It's a really good show overall, and a lot of those, pinky out, anime, Puritan nerd, soft dick in hand nerds like to criticize Attack on Titan and think anyone that likes it is some type of Cro-Magnon who has poor taste. But I don't understand why. The show is just really good. Even if you don't like anime, it's a really good show. Even if you don't like a good story, the action is really good and worth it to sit through the story. Now, that being said, there's a lot of exposition in the episodes, and that's kind of a negative. Even though I love the story, it's a bit of a negative because Season 3, for example, the one that just wrapped up, there was so few action scenes in here it was almost insulting. It seemed like it kind of forgot what kind of show it was. There's entire episodes where it takes place in like 3 rooms total, just talking back and forth. It's not exactly filler because you learn very important details about the characters of the story, but it's not super fun to watch either. You're just being lectured. It's like you're sitting in a college classroom learning about like microbio or something. Now, that's not to say I think Season 3 is bad by any means, because I did enjoy it, but when you look back on Season 1, which had the perfect balance of a lot of really incredible jaw-dropping action and story, and then you look at Season 3 where it seems like they ran out of money and could only animate standing still, face scenes and mouth movements, it's sad. Because you want more action, and there is some, and when it's there in Season 3, it's still really good. But you always want more. You want story with the action. That's what the show was built on. That's why Season 1 was such a huge success in every part of the world. That's why so many people that don't even like anime fell in love with it. It is just really fucking fun. But it's not fun to watch the characters just stand in a fucking football huddle, divulging information to each other. That's kind of boring to watch, and it's a bunch of flashbacks, which also are not that fun to watch. Season 2 also kind of fell victim to that, not as badly. I thought Season 2 was pretty strong, even though a lot of people disagreed. I thought it built up to something really big, and then that something really big happened at the end, and it was very worth it. Season 3 felt like it was building up to something really big, and then it just ended. It ended on a very slow episode. It ended on a cliffhanger at the end of the episode, which was kind of just upsetting, because I hate that kind of shit when you leave a cliffhanger like that, especially on the back of a boring episode. That's just kind of a slap in the face. But, and I understand why, because they divided the season in half. It's coming back in 6 months. I get it. It's not the end of Season 3. It's Season 3.5's coming up. But still, why? It's just not a very interesting way of concluding Season 3. And a lot of Season 3 was just not that fun to watch. The story's great, though, so learning more about it's always nice. But there had to be a better way of going about that instead of animating full episodes where nothing fucking happens except talking. But overall, I think Attack on Titan is an absolute must-see. It does a perfect balance of despair and hope. You get to see some really, horrific things, and you get to see some really impressive reactions from the characters that seem so lifelike. The facial expressions, the voice acting, all of it really sells the emotion of the show and makes it a very dark and sad story, and a very interesting one at that. And the action, I can't express enough how much fun it is to watch the action in here. And it's so beautifully animated. The sound, the music, the soundtrack, so fucking good. Iconic, even. So let's just go ahead and plug this shit into the Moist Meter. I'm giving Attack on Titan as a whole an 85%. I think it's a must-see. And I really wish Seasons 2 and 3 took some notes from the first season, which was executed so well. Because Seasons 2 and 3, in my opinion, just weren't even close to as good. They're still good. I still enjoyed them, but they couldn't hold a candle to Season 1, the beauty of it, the grand scale of things, all the fun of it. But it is still absolutely worth watching, and I think the next season of Attack on Titan, the .5 of Season 3, is going to be fucking amazing. Because they've hyped it up for 13 episodes worth in this, pseudo season, so it's gotta be a huge payoff, I would hope. So I'm excited for that, and I absolutely think Attack on Titan is a show you need to watch if you like anime, and even if you don't, because it's really fucking good. So yeah.
This episode of Moist Meter brought to you by Godslap Issue 2. Go to godslapbook.com to order your copy now.
Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Moist Meter. Today we're taking a look at Chainsaw Man. This anime had more hype around it than if they announced a sequel to the Bible. Everything about anime this season was geared towards how great Chainsaw Man was going to be. I couldn't stop hearing about it. People keep recommending it. And it was being animated by Mappa, so all of these things put together into a beautiful stew was a recipe for hype. So I went into this show with very high expectations, and I'm happy to say I wasn't disappointed at all. The show's just really good. Now, the plot isn't anything super unique or special. It's a very simple, very standard storyline. There's devils out there, and there's people that hunt them. So we follow the devil hunters. Our protagonist has fused with the chainsaw devil, so he's got a dangly little ripcord on his chest, and when he's ready to, beat and eat some ass, he yanks the ripcord and has chainsaws shoot out of his arm and out of his head, and then he just absolutely gores everything around him. The story isn't anything incredible, but the characters are really fun. It's just unapologetically goofy. For example, the main character, Dingy, is just this extremely horny kid whose main motivation is squeezing tits for a long time, and then he gets his first kiss, but the girl that kissed him pukes in his mouth. Like, it's not afraid to be over the top and silly, but also self-aware. And this show has spawned a hornier community on Twitter than Genshin Impact. I swear to God, this show must have changed people's entire lives because there are so many accounts that are dedicated to just talking about who they want to fuck and why they're their favorite girl and this and that. Like, it's a full-time job for some of these people to thirst over the anime characters in this one. But of course, the main selling point of Chainsaw Man has always been, as I understand it, its action, which is brought to life beautifully by Mappa. Mappa has done so much work over the last couple years. They've said yes to like every anime project imaginable. Like, if there's been even whispers of a manga being adapted into an anime or a new season of an anime needing another studio, it's always Mappa that raises their hands to do the work. They're like the Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. They can't turn down any roles, but unlike The Rock, every role Mappa takes is a fucking hit. Like, they only make bangers. They've done so many anime over the last couple of years. I don't know how they haven't spread themselves out too thin and had the quality, suffer for it. But somehow they're able to keep up an incredibly high level of quality, the best in the industry oftentimes. And all that talent's put on full display with Chainsaw Man. The action is amazing. Every time there's a fight, it's over the top, it's gory, and it's so great. And it goes hard. It goes so fucking hard. I love that the main way of fighting for people that aren't the main character, Dingy, is through contracts with devils. So a lot of the devil hunters, well, all of them, have contracts where they can use other devils' powers. So one of the devil hunters has a contract with a ghost devil where she has a little ghost arm that she can use to strangle and blast people. There's a cursed devil that another main character uses. It's a really fun way of fighting that keeps it fresh, where everyone has very unique ways of approaching combat. And they spared no expense when it came to the animation. They didn't take any cheap ways out. This is very clearly a lot of work going into it to make it look the best that it can, and it really pays off. The show's just great. I don't have any major complaints about it. I have like a couple minor nitpicks, but none of it's like important or detrimental to the overall show. I think oftentimes it gets lost in its own horniness with its main character, so sometimes that gets a bit grating. But it's never to a point where I don't like the character or anyone around him. And it's one of the few anime where the humor sometimes lands for me. Oftentimes when anime tries humor, it doesn't really make me laugh. But I actually did have a couple giggles throughout Chainsaw Man, so that was a pleasant surprise and pretty refreshing. It just doesn't really fall into like anything I expected from a mainstream anime. Of course it has tons of cliches and tons of tropes, but it never like overuses it or has it overstay its welcome. Everything in this show is mainly geared as a vessel towards more over-the-top and fucking beautiful action, and I really just appreciated that. Now, there's only 12 episodes of this season, which is a little disappointing because shows like Jujutsu Kaisen and Demon Slayer, both of which had comparable levels of animation quality, as well as very similar levels of hype, both of those had 24 and 26 episode long seasons. Season 1 of Demon Slayer was 26 episodes, Season 1 of Jujutsu Kaisen was 24, and it was able to hold this intensity, like this full fucking nuts to butts action and jaw-dropping animation for a long time, whereas Chainsaw Man's very bite-sized, like it's giving you an appetizer. So I'm hoping that it can continue this level of quality. I hope it doesn't like fall off and, suck shit, because that'd be tragic. But yeah, it is just a little underwhelming that it's such a short season. I would have liked more episodes because it's just so good, and I would have really liked more time to get drawn into the entire universe and see more of it. But it's still extremely good. Plugging it in the Moist Meter, I'm going to be giving it a 90%. I do highly recommend it, especially if you like shows like Jujutsu Kaisen and Demon Slayer. So yeah, lived up to the hype, so I was satisfied. That's about it. See ya. Godslap is a comic book series we've been working on for a couple years now. It's a hyper-violent, over-the-top sci-fi story about the beauty and destruction that slaps can cause. Issue 2 is out right now. It'd make a wonderful Christmas gift, so make sure to check it out at godslapbook.com. Right now, we also have 3 variant covers that are in stock, but the second those sell out, those variant covers will never be restocked, so definitely make sure to pick up a copy today.
Initiating moisture.
The first season of One Punch Man is an absolute fucking masterpiece in every department. The characters are well written, the comedy lands, the animation is beyond beautiful. Every fight scene in the first season of One Punch Man is truly outstanding, thanks to a lot of the freelancers that really worked on it and put a lot of passion and soul into it, leading to this incredible and very unique, very rare season of anime. Everything about the first season of One Punch Man is beautiful perfection. And for the respect out of the first season, I'm going to be dividing this Moist Meter in 2 parts. Season 1 and Season 2. Season 2 just finished. I didn't even fucking know it ended because the last episode wasn't a great send-off. And the whole season was just an unbelievable downgrade in every conceivable department that it leaves a bitter taste in my butthole. The crazy thing about One Punch Man is the characters are so well written and the universe is so lively and fun that even though Season 2 was significantly worse than the first season in every way, it was still a good season. It was still enjoyable, which is fucking remarkable. So the difference between Season 1 and 2 comes down entirely to the studio that handled it. Season 1 had a whole bunch of freelancers work on it. They had a whole lot of new talent come in that really put their all into it to lead to such an extraordinary season. Season 2 was handed off to the fast food chain of anime called JC Staff. They do really suboptimal work, literally no passion. It's barely better than YouTube animators, and that's kind of why it's so bad. It's because the animation, if you can even call it that, half of the fucking season is just still images with a shaky cam. I swear to God, the first 2 episodes don't even have anything moving. It's just the camera with some fucking art they found on DeviantArt, fan art. It's fucking embarrassing, and it's really upsetting that Season 2 turned out the way it did. But before I get into everything wrong with Season 2, I want to talk about why you should watch Season 1 if you haven't already. Even if you fucking hate cartoons, animation, or even fun in general, you will still probably like the first season of One Punch Man. Even from a conceptual level, I think it is extraordinary. One Punch Man is about a man who is so incredibly powerful, the most powerful being that you could ever imagine in any form of media. And if you're not going in there trying to nitpick, taking notes like a turbo virgin anime critiquer or something, you're going to notice how noticeably bad it is in comparison to the first season. Had the first season not been as good as it was, this would have been a lot more palatable. I don't think as many people would have cared, because I loved the first season so much, and Season 2 has a much better storyline. I think Season 2's story, even in its shit form with JC Staff, is still better than the first season's story. I like Garo. I really like all of the new characters they introduced and everything going on, the Villain Association. All of it is really good. But JC Staff couldn't even bother to animate half this shit. In the first 2 episodes, you can immediately recognize a clear difference in the first and second season. The fights in the first 2 episodes alone in this season were actually just still images, as if a kid was holding up 2 pieces of paper with characters' faces on them and colliding them together. That's about the extent of the animation you got from the first bad CGI. It looks like I went in there as a fucking sophomore in college like 5 years ago. And I hope JC Staff doesn't get many more projects because this shit was so good. So I'm not familiar with the modern Dragon Ball lore. and I still really fucking enjoyed this movie. I saw all of Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, and all of Dragon Ball GT for however useless that shit was, and I still really fucking love this movie. I loved the original Broly movies, and I like what they did with this one. They completely changed his origin. Well, not completely, but they retconned most of his origin, which is a good thing, because his origin previously was really fucking goofy. Like, he was just damaged because Goku cried a lot when he was a baby, so then the crying really makes him sad and mad at the same time. It was a fucking weird, goofy origin, so I like what they did here. They made Broly a super interesting character instead of this weird sociopathic madman who just really gets mad about Goku crying. So I like that. They made the character really cool. He was always cool, but they made him like an actual interesting, cool character, not just like a two-dimensional ab machine. I also like every other character in this movie, too. I really was surprised by how much I enjoyed the shit that wasn't fighting. I went into this thinking only the fighting would be fun, but really everything was good. Even like the little wholesome moments between the characters, the way they got along and the little jokes they'd crack. It was all just wholesome and enjoyable. And the fights were fucking spectacular. Some of the best I've seen in anime, actually. I don't know if Dragon Ball Super, the show, has this level of quality, but if it does, holy shit. The fights were absolutely spectacular to watch. The second you thought the fight was winding down, there'd be like just some filler dialogue like, I have big muscles, you have big muscles, and I'm going to scream about it, and we're going to sit here for 2 minutes and just talk. It didn't happen. There'd be maybe like a quick exchange of a sentence or two, and then bang, right back to jerking dicks into assholes. It was fucking wild. It's incredible how they just kept ramping up the action, but it was so goofily fun. I couldn't help but notice it. Eventually, the fight between Goku, Vegeta, and Broly took place on ice, and then all of a sudden, all of the ice gets destroyed, and it takes place in the core, and the core is getting fucking destroyed. Then all of a sudden, it's taking place in like this alternate dimensional multiverse space-time continuum tear, and then that fucking explodes. So Doc Brown and Marty get fucked. It was weird. Like, it kept changing, but from one location. Like, they were so powerful, they were literally changing reality around themselves. Like, fuck the Infinity Stones. They were literally punching reality out of existence. It was wild. It was so beautiful to watch. And one thing I always talk about with anime that I always fucking hate, but all anime does it, is CGI. And this movie's, it's not, innocent in that regard. There's CGI in here, and there's quite a bit of it during the fights. I understand why, because the fight is like fucking 40 minutes of pure high-octane testosterone going on. But you can't help but notice when that CGI comes on screen. It's really not as bad as I expected. It's not nearly as bad as every other anime that uses CGI, like a Goblin Slayer or Overlord or anything like that. It's pretty decently done, and some of it is even kind of hard to notice, which is admirable. I just really fucking hate CGI, and I have to pay compliments that at least when they used it, it wasn't that bad. So that's good. Another complaint that I have is, in Dragon Ball, one thing it's famous for is them saying the attacks like, Gallic Gun, Kamehameha, Big Cum Blast move, Almighty Omega Lord. That doesn't happen. So now when one of them uses a Gallic Gun, for example, Vegeta uses the Gallic Gun, he doesn't say it. For some reason, there's like this ethereal voice that says Gallic Gun. It's like part of the soundtrack, as if like one of the musicians, while shredding on the guitar and like double bass pedaling his drums, just says Gallic Gun. It was dumb. I really didn't fucking like that at all. It felt weird. It felt super out of place. I don't know why you wouldn't have the characters do what you expect them to do, because they've done it for 20 fucking years. I don't know why they changed that here. I don't know if it's like that in the show, but in the movie, I didn't like that at all. That made me very sad, because I was looking forward to, a grand Kamehameha from Goku. That shit is iconic. But instead, you get the name being said by the leader of the marching band in the background. So it's a nitpick. It's a complaint, but it's not a big deal, especially when everything else around the movie and the fight was good. It's just something that you'll immediately take notice of and be like, well, that's kind of fucking sad. But otherwise, this movie's just going to be purely pumping blood to your penis while watching, especially if you're a fan of the show. Let's go ahead and plug this shit into the Moist Meter. I'm giving Dragon Ball Super Broly an 85%. It is a great action animation. I wouldn't go in there expecting some kind of tale that's going to be a profound statement or going to be like a really thought-provoking piece. It's Dragon Ball. You don't get that shit. You get muscles, explosions, and testosterone. And you get that in excess here. It's fucking great. and I really enjoyed it start to finish. I think if you like Dragon Ball, I think absolutely you're going to love this one. But even if you're not a fan of this series, I do think there still is a lot to like here if you can appreciate good old-fashioned animation. So yeah, that's it. So yeah.